raised hand feature to ask a question. We'll start with Greg Hunter.
So, Coach, I mean, a week or so since we've seen you, you had some time off. Since you've been back, what are the concentrations? You guys are preparing for a tough test tomorrow. So, what have you been working on?
I think for us, it's like we always talk about, just focusing on ourselves and then and then getting ready for the opponent these last couple of days. But overall, it's a game prep type thing in the last couple of days of what does Kansas do well offensively, defensively, and how do we try to attack both ends of the floor.
I assume you faced Big 12 teams while you were at Drake. So, difference as you move into conference play, or you face good teams this year? Is it just an endless stream of them now that you get into the Big 12?
Yeah, I think conference play always, the intensity I think even gets cranked up a little bit more. Teams are familiar with each other. They played against each other, year after year. So, in our case, it's different because we're new. But overall, I think league play always has a little added significance to it. Obviously from players, coaches, fan bases, there's just a little more on the line for it.
Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Hey, just kind of looking at numbers. Kansas obviously shoots the ball very well, but they don't really take a lot of threes. They make a good decent percentage when they do take them, but obviously with Dickinson inside, I guess just kind of start there. Is it fair to go in and ask Amani to try to match up with Dickinson, or do you have to kind of help there a little bit?
Well, I mean, there's just a lot of ways they can hurt you because they do have such great balance. They do have very efficient 3-point shooting, and then they live in the paint with post ups and different actions to drive it. So they put you in a tough spot regardless. So being able to try to as the game is flowing, be able to adjust to it, but having multiple things ready to try to slow them down. But it's certainly a big challenge to try to do that.
Kevin Kinder.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning.
Following up on Justin's question, when you're facing a team that has a lot of different kind of abilities, do you try to focus on taking away one or two things? Or are you saying, okay, this is the first thing we're going to try and then maybe move on if that's not working?
Yeah, typically, for when we try to put a game plan together, you can't take away everything, and a lot of times, if you try to, you end up taking away nothing. So you have to be willing to live with something, whatever that is, and then as the game goes on, if you need to make an adjustment to that, then you do that. But for us, it's finding which thing we think can hurt us the most, and then try to take that away the best way possible. And then that's what we try to focus on.
Back to Greg.
Well, if I can unmute, that would help. So asked about Amani. How's his ankle? How's the rest of the health on the team?
Yeah, pretty much all of those guys are the same as they were when we left. So we got today's practice and tomorrow's shoot around to kind of determine where everybody's at.
Then Bill Self, have you ever coached against him before? And obviously he's incredibly successful. Besides just having really good players, what is it that he's done over his career that's made him so good?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for him. He's an incredible coach. I've said this before. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, in the country. His success over the years is almost unmatched when you think about the consecutive conference titles and what he's been able to do there. I actually played against his teams as a player when he was at Tulsa, way back. But so I've known him a long time. He's done an unbelievable job, continues to do an unbelievable job.
Back to Justin.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, since West Virginia joined the Big 12, they haven't had any success at Kansas, and I understand you weren't a part of any of those, but I don't know, funny things happened over the years, whether it be maybe a bad whistle or two, or bad turnover, or whatever. I'm just kind of interested in your basketball history. Do you believe there's such a thing as, basketball gods that maybe have a twisted sense of humor when it comes to certain matchups and certain arenas, things like that?
No, not at
Okay.
all. I mean, it's a hard place to play. I don't think, you know, West Virginia is the only one that has a hard time going into Allen Fieldhouse and winning. They're very good there. They got a great home court advantage. Like we said, well coached, got good players. So that has more to do with it than anything. It's you got to go in there, you got to play well, and that's what it comes down to. And home courts are you know the reason you like to play at home is because you do have an advantage, and they certainly have one of the better home court advantages in the country.
So what do you tell your guys then? None of them, I assume, not well, maybe Javon, I guess. Outside of him, I doubt if anyone's ever played in there before.
Yeah, I mean it's go play. I mean it's nothing changes in terms of it's a tough road environment. We're going to see those all year long in conference play. This is certainly one of the better ones, and you need to make sure that you're really good at all the little things to give yourself a chance to win on the road. And this is one of the toughest places to try to go do that.
Thank you,
Bob,
Coach.
Bob Herzl.
Yeah, Coach. My question's kind of along the line of Justin, but not so much playing in the field house, but just playing Kansas. I mean, that's a school Wilt Chamberlain went to. There are you're playing. You're not playing. You may not be playing the basketball gods, but you're playing basketball idols and that. What? How do you handle something like that?
Again, our approach is it's kind of boring to say, but our approach is the same. No matter who we play, we want to put the best version of ourselves out there every single night. Whether we're playing Kansas or whoever it may be. So our goal is to go there, play the best 40 minutes we possibly can, and do whatever we need to do to try to come away with a win. And that's the only focus we can have.
John.
Mayo's the guy that's really come on for them in the last however many games. So what do you see from him? What's some of the issues he brings?
Yeah, he's been really good, and he's one of those guys. I think he's an elite, catch and shoot guy. His ability to score in different ways, but when he gets a clean one, he doesn't miss them very often. And he's done a nice job too of putting it on the floor a little bit. He's pretty crafty with utilizing his shot fakes to get people in the air. And you can see his confidence starting to grow, as he's gotten more comfortable in their system and what they're doing. So, he's playing at a high level right now.
One more, sort of what Kevin was asking you about taking away. Is it something where guys are going to get theirs, but you can't let the third guy or the fourth guy go off? Is that how you go about it?
Yeah, it depends on the game plan, but as you said, like we're not going to take away everything. Our hope is to take away, the one or two things that we want to really try to neutralize. But again, you have to live with something, and you just hope on some of those nights that that guy doesn't have a breakout night where he gets 25 or 30 type deal. So, and that's where we talked about those are the in-game adjustments where sometimes you have to alter maybe what you're doing because the game plan just kind of dictates that you need to make an adjustment.
We have time for a few more. We'll go to Mike Asti.
Unmute myself. Hey, Coach. We're still relatively early in the season, even though we're getting to conference play now at the end of December in terms of looking at the NCAA tournament, but the national projections are out. There are some that actually have placed West Virginia firmly in the NCAA tournament, some outside, some are talking about the Mountaineers being a tournament team right now. Is that anything you pay attention to? Do you try to get your players to ignore any of that? Does that in any way help you in, I guess, feeling good about your situation right now? Because you do have some quality victories already on your resume, despite dealing with injuries and despite looking at a tough road ahead. But some teams are lacking that, say, big win over Gonzaga that you guys could talk about if you're on the bubble?
Yeah, that's not something like we discussed right now. There's just so many games left, and conference play is coming up. The one thing we did talk to our team about is you have, different portions of the season. Non-conference play is one of them. And, for our guys and to be in a position like we've talked about, to have some good wins, some quality wins, to be where you need to be in the net. Those are important things because you don't get those back. But none of that means anything if you don't line up in conference play and put yourself in position. From a conference standpoint and conference wins and quality wins, you got to continue to stack those up. And there's just so many games left for that to mean anything right now. Really doesn't matter a whole lot.
Great, Carey.
Coach, in the 2 losses Kansas had to Creighton and Missouri, any sort of commonalities you've noticed? Maybe some things that you saw in those games that your guys can take advantage of tomorrow?
There was a couple things in both games that you saw, but they're really kind of two different types of games. In the way that they played out, so we certainly looked at and studied those films, to see maybe what worked for both of those teams, and try to take and draw from what we could and utilize that in our game prep.
And we'll close with Mike.
Hey, Darren, how's it going?
Good.
2 questions for you. In road games, do you I don't know, coach any differently when it comes to being mindful of momentum, using timeouts, play fast, play slow, or is that just a sports writer thing and you can't afford to be that different?
No, I think you still want to play to your identity, but it's also understanding on the road, maybe utilizing your timeouts a little quicker to try to neutralize some of the crowd and the momentum there. Calm your team down. Versus a home game, maybe you play it out a little bit longer. So those type of things are important. Maybe you slow it down a little bit on the road just to kind of calm everybody down again and not let it go in too fast, or you try to neutralize some of those big runs on the road. But you still have to be who you are and what you feel like your strengths are as a team and play to those strengths. So you don't want to get too far away from that, but you tweak it a little bit.
And then it wasn't too long ago you were talking about some of the roster hurdles you're trying to clear right now and trying to get familiar with one another and different players and different combinations. But you'd also mentioned that when conference play, you'd like to have a few things left up your sleeve. How do you balance doing both of those with only so much time to get new parts together and then also try to be a little bit new and different?
Yeah, and most of that stuff, in terms of like you don't maybe utilize the whole playbook early in the year because you don't need to. Everything's kind of new for the season, but it's stuff you've been working on, since June. So it's not like, hey, we're going to add all this new stuff in a short period of time. It's stuff that's been, we've been doing for 5 months. We just haven't, utilized that portion of it yet. So I think it's all stuff that our guys are very comfortable with, and have executed, multiple times throughout the last, 5 months.
Okay, I think that's it for today. Thanks to everyone for calling in, and thank you, Coach.
Thank you all.